Fajr Gibbs a group of people and their biggest cookie contest Friday, December 4, 2020. Once upon a time in a huge and overcrowded town of Virginia, there lived a lot of people. However, among of the people there is a group of people who are always living together in the same house in the same neighborhood. One day at 5 o'clock in the morning at night, the group of people decided to make a biggest cookie of Virginia ever and then immediately work on it without wasting time. On the very next day, the female mayor of Virginia decided to let her town for the first time in history have a biggest cookie ever contest, and luckily, since the group of people who lived in the same house in the same neighborhood turned out to be also a huge family known as the Cookie Bakers, started on their gigantic cookie on the night before this day, the Cookie Bakers have nothing to worry about. Just shortly after the female mayor of Virginia announced the biggest cookie ever contest news, everyone else of the town then immediately doing their best to make the biggest cookie. At this same point, while everyone including the cookie bakers are still baking their own custom biggest cookies, the female apprentice of the female mayor of Virginia then immediately announced to all the people of Virginia that have 3 days time starting today to finish their own biggest cookie creation and take it to the biggest cookie ever contest. Meanwhile, at the middle of the town square, the female mayor of Virginia then decided to use the middle of the town square as a location of the biggest cookie ever contest and stay there. Back at the Cookie Baker's house, the Cookie Bakers just finished their own custom biggest cookie dough and are ready to plan on bake it on the day before the contest so that cookie smells and taste fresh for their mayor, and they cleverly for the time being put it in the biggest refrigerator they bought from the store this same day. Meanwhile, all other residents of Virginia didn't thought of put their own biggest cookie dough in the refrigerator and wait until the day before the contest to bake it due to they are in a rush to impress their own mayor, and so without thinking twice bake their own biggest cookie doughs right away, while the cookie bakers use this time as an opportunity to go to the store and buy all different fresh cookie edible decorations that are permanently fresh. The very next day, which serves to the second day before the contest, the cookie bakers cleverly immediately ask a scientist to help them build a machine that keeps any food that inside of it fresh, and have an unlimited power supply, and after that machine finish, the cookie bakers take it home with them just shortly after they put their own biggest cookie inside of it right away so they don't have to worry about it later on. At this same point, all the other residents of Virginia began to decorate their own biggest cookies and put their own biggest cookie creations in their own biggest refrigerators. Meanwhile, at the Cookie Baker's house, the Cookie Bakers immediately used this time an opportunity to wait until further notice to wait for the day before the biggest cookie ever contest. On that night at 5 o'clock in the morning, the Cookie Bakers then immediately take the machine that keeps any food that inside of it fresh, and have an unlimited power supply with their own biggest cookie creation inside of it, and began to decorate their biggest cookie with all the different fresh cookie edible decorations that are permanently fresh without put their biggest cookie out of the machine that keeps any food that inside of it fresh, and have an unlimited power supply. Just shortly after the Cookie Bakers finish decorating their own fresh biggest cookie creation, the Cookie Bakers immediately at this same time go to the middle of the town square, the place of the biggest cookie contest, with their biggest cookie creation, which is still inside the machine that keeps any food that inside of it fresh, and have an unlimited power supply, first way before everyone else. At 6 o'clock in the morning, all the other residents of Virginia with their own biggest cookie creations arrived at the middle of the town square, the place of the biggest cookie contest, without knowing that the Cookie Bakers are already their way before any of them did until they reached there and saw the Cookie Bakers. Just then, the female mayor of Virginia, who has been camping at the middle of the town square, the place of the biggest cookie contest, for the past 3 days before the contest, then immediately began the contest, and all the residents of Virginia, including the Cookie Bakers who are also the contestants of their own hometown of Virginia's first ever biggest cookie contest, then immediately go to their positions. Just shortly after that, the female mayor of Virginia, unknown to all except the Cookie Bakers, decided to taste the Cookie Bakers' own biggest cookie last after all the residents of Virginia. Then, as promised, the female mayor of Virginia immediately tasted a bite of all other residents of Virginia's biggest cookies first. The female mayor of Virginia just shortly after taste those cookie bites from all other residents of Virginia's biggest cookies didn't decided who's the winner yet. Instead, she just write her own opinion scores for each one along with notes for each one. Finally, it was the Cookie Baker's turn. The female mayor of Virginia take a same small-sized bite of their biggest cookies and give them an enormous golden star, a 100% score, and no notes. Then the female mayor of Virginia said this as an announcement to everyone, including the cookie bakers, and the winner of our first ever biggest cookie contest is the cookie bakers. And after this, I will also make this our town's traditional biggest cookie contest. Then everyone cheered upon hearing their mayor's news, and since then, just as the female mayor of Virginia promised, Virginia began to have a biggest cookie contest every single year. The end.